Hello, everybody. It's Brian here with some record finds. I will call this December part one. Who knows if there'll be a part two because, December's a busy month. But I have 5 records to show you, and I'm going to start with some mail I received. So let me show you first the back of the envelope here. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool stamps on there. And let me show you the front, or part of the front. So it has certain themes going on here. We have photography, we have records, and we have stamps all the way from Japan if you're interested in stamps. So this is an envelope from Brian. Yes, there are a number of Brians in the vinyl community, better known as Tokyo Record Style. You may have encountered this channel before. He's both a person who's very interested in music and records, and he is a photographer, hence the camera there. So he sent me this really cool note typed on a real typewriter, which has some nice things to say, and I'm happy to have received this from Brian. He's also included this sticker from Tokyo Record Style, so you might be able to read it there, and on the back have a nice play and a QR code. So that is very cool. I first became aware of Brian's channel, I believe, I think this was the first time, through the vinyl tag he did relating to Japan, and I made an entry into that. I think that was, I may have seen something before that, but I'm not sure. But that was the first time we actually exchanged messages and that kind of thing. So very cool to have received that from Japan, and I will put a link below so you can check out the channel yourself if you don't know it. So I have 5 records, and I'm going to start with one that I had been searching for quite some time since it came out, with no success because it seems like no record store in Toronto decided to carry this. I did order a copy on Amazon, and as I mentioned in a previous video, it came already opened for me for easy access, but it was also damaged, so I sent it back. Finally, I have a copy of Peter Murphy's Silver Shade, which came out this year. I can't remember the date exactly. It's his 11th record, and it happens to have come out 11 years after his last release, which is too long if you ask me. There's the back, and it's a gatefold with lyrics and another treated image of Peter. I'm not quite sure what I make of this cover image. I do like the general color tone, the palette, I guess I should say, on this record, and the design overall, but that image, I'm not sure yet. I guess I'll have to think about that. So 2 records in these plain white sleeves. There is side A of Silver Shade. So there are 12 tracks on here with some interesting collaborations, which I will mention right now. So who is on this record apart from Peter? We have Youth from Killing Joke, of course, famously of Killing Joke, who produced the record and plays guitar on all the tracks and bass on, I think, 11 of the tracks. We have Trent Reznor providing some vocal work on 3 tracks. We have Danny Carey from Tool playing drums on a couple of tracks. And there's one other very interesting collaboration that I'm still wrapping my head around, but in some respects I really think it works. So the last track is called Let the Flowers Grow. Well, you'll never be able to see that, but Let the Flowers Grow. And it's a duet, really, with Boy George of Culture Club, which is a little odd, but at some level I think it does actually work. I never really loved Culture Club or Boy George, but it certainly gives you something to think about. Now, the first single was The Art Room Wonder. If you want to know what this album sounds like, I suggest you listen to that track first. It's pretty good. This is not going to compete for my favorite Peter Murphy record. That would obviously be Deep, but this is solid. I do love his voice. As you may know, he was the lead singer of Bauhaus. There's a couple other interesting contributions. One of the tracks is Cochita is Lame has a number of co-writers, including Kevin Haskins, going back to the whole Bauhaus area. So yeah, pretty interesting. I'm enjoying it. I've only heard it once, but I think that was a wise pickup since I do like to have everything that Peter Murphy ever recorded. Now, next we have a band from Chicago called Tortoise, and this is TNT, which, I'm dropping things, is the band's 3rd record from 2008, I believe. This is a 2020 repressing if I've gotten that right. 2020. This is on Thrill Jockey Records. Thrill 050. Now, I love the label Thrill Jockey. I think they've released some really unique and interesting music. So I'm always interested in what they have released, but Tortoise is a band I already knew. I have several other records from them. This one is leaning heavily into jazz. So at some level, after first listen, I've heard some of the things before. It doesn't appeal to me as much as some of their other records, but I do really like it. In fact, I think the album picks up in the second half. Here's the inside of this. In fact, there's a track called 10-Day Interval, which when I heard it, I thought I was listening to like a composition by 20th century classical composer Steve Reich. So that it's quite maybe influenced by that, I'm not sure, but here is the labels. So they're experimental, instrumental, electronic, a bit of krautrock, a bit of dub, what is that? Minimal music, and then with this release and some other things they've done, I guess, with a bit of jazz influence. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I do like it. A very minimal looking cover, I would say. So I guess ultimately they fit into the post-rock category, if I didn't say that. So I do enjoy it. Maybe not as much as some of their other ones. Next, we have a new record from Canadian band called the Rheostatics, who are from Etobicoke, Ontario, which is just west of Toronto. Well, it's actually part of Toronto now. So this is called the Great Lakes Suite. The Great Lakes Suite. And this features a really interesting lineup of people, including someone from Rush. But let's talk about that in a moment. So here we have 2 records with the band there. And maybe you'll recognize who I'm talking about. So let's go into this. So this is a conceptual record project, which is a bit like the album they did for the music inspired by the group Seven. This looks at the Great Lakes in a kind of perspective of recent events. So in the background, you could say that there's this idea of the problem or the issue of the threatened annexation from the United States, the whole fraught relationship with us, according to Dave Bedini of the Rheostatics. So the Great Lakes are these bodies of water that separate our countries in certain areas, and there's a shared history with them, there's shared resources, cooperation. So I guess it's an effort to bring us back together, but not in an annexed way, I guess. So who's on this record? We have Dave Bedini, of course, along original Rheostatics member, Dave Clark, Rheostatics member, Kevin Hearn has worked with Rheostatics recently. He also has done lots of solo work, etc. A member of the Bare Naked Ladies, worked with Lou Reed. Don Kerr, very famous Canadian musician. Alex Lifeson, in case you didn't pick it up already, is on here playing guitars. Hugh Marsh is an eclectic electric violinist who's played, I guess perhaps in the early days, most famously with Bruce Cockburn. On one of his solo records, he had a lot of input and work with and vocals from Robert Palmer. He's worked with John Hassel and with the Rheostatics more recently, including their last record. And then Tim Vesley, a long-standing member of Rheostatics right from day one. And here's the inner on this one. And look at that for a representation of, I guess, water. There's 2 records in here that look exactly like that. I have to say, this is a beautiful package, to be honest. It's really great. The other record sleeve is very similar. Same color vinyl on here. And then there are a number of guests on here. So the first track, or the second track, does it tell us here? No, I made notes because it's not on here. So we have the song "The Moon." I keep making The Moon Dreams, which has a spoken word contribution from Anne Carson, a well-known Canadian poet. Violin by Laurie Anderson on the third track, I guess because of the Lou Reed connection. Kendall Carson provides vocals. Then we have an interesting one. The track "The Drop Off" has a spoken word piece by Gord Downey. So it's musicians performing behind that spoken word monologue that he performed at a fundraiser for some water event way back, maybe over 20 years ago. So it's a really interesting collection. The vocals tend to be not all of them, they tend to be spoken word. There's some singing. There's this ethereal, atmospheric kind of feeling to the record, haunting in some respects. I feel that I'm hearing the past and the future all together, if that makes any sense. It's very calming, and I think it's long overdue. They hadn't had a release in 6 years before this, so this is the first in 6 years. From 2025. It's not really a rock album in the sense that their other albums were, so if you're looking for that, this is probably not the thing, but I think it's really, really good. So we'll move on. I just mentioned Gord Downie in that, with that last record. So here we have this interesting record from Gord Downie and the Sadies and the Conquering Sun. So an interesting collaboration between the Sadies, Canadian band, and Gord Downie from the Tragically Hip, which I knew about this when it came out in 2014. I never picked it up. I kind of wish I had it, and then I found this. Gotta move that out of the way. I found this copy, which is in pretty good shape, except for a little bit of a corner bend here. It's a used copy, but really good. So this is a collaboration, I guess, came from the fact that the Tragically Hip had toured with the Sadies, or vice versa, on their World Container Tour. And there was also some sort of CBC program or initiative that would link up various musicians together, and I think that's how it came about. Anyway, it's a really well done record. I mean, the first song on here, Crater, which I believe was a single, is a real head-on rock song. I think it's really good. And I guess if you heard this, the casual fan might hear this and just think it's a Tragically Hip because Gord's voice is so distinctive. It does sound a little bit different than the Tragically Hip, of course, but I think it's really, really good. And again, I've only heard it once, but here we have lyrics, and I'll show you the actual record, which is a heavyweight vinyl on Arts and Crafts from Toronto, so that's cool. Long overdue getting that into my collection, since I have every Tragically Hip record and a number from Gord Downie's solo works. That's cool. And the last one is a record that goes way back to 1970, the third record from the band, and despite the fact that I have other records from the band, I've never owned this on vinyl, so I thought I would pick it up. This is not a 1970 pressing. This is a 2020-ish pressing. It doesn't have the date on here. 2020 or so. I was never sure what to make of this album cover, but I guess it sort of works. And I didn't actually say it. This is called Stage Fright. There's the back. This is probably best known for the track The Shape I'm In, of course. It comes with this folded small poster, which in monochrome, which is quite nice, I have to say. And then the album itself, the record itself, is again heavyweight vinyl. It's side 2, side 1. So Stage Fright from 1970, another record that was long overdue ending up in my collection, but yeah, I do like the band. That one didn't get maybe the best reviews when it came out, but I think retrospectively people are thinking differently about it. I mean, that's a classic, though. The Shape I'm In is definitely a classic, and Stage Fright itself, the title track probably, engineered by Todd Rundgren, mixed down by Glyn Johns, etc. So yeah, pretty cool. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.